well. And great to see all of you joining this great event. I have to say that the students did a great job of putting this together.
Yeah, we had a lot of hard workers on the team that were, spending a lot of time putting in the work to make this event what it is. So thank you so much for being a part of this. We're going to wait a few seconds here to make sure everyone joins, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Okay. Well, hello everyone. My name is Abby. Welcome to Resilience and the Solution First Approach presented by Karen Lowham. I will be the moderator and host for this session. We ask that you hold your questions off until the end. And when you do have a question, please type it into the chat and the speaker will do their best to get to it. If you would like to have a personal conversation with the speaker, please wait until the Meet and Connect session. Any further questions can be addressed to me via the chat DM option. And Karen, take it away.
Thank you. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Make sure I'm going to share the right screen. All right. Well, thank you for that introduction, Abby. And thank you all of you for joining me tonight and sitting down and talking with me about one of my favorite topics, which is resilience. This is a word we have all heard over the past year quite a bit. We've heard it in reference to personal, community, and to business. All of these are great topics that we could spend a number of bit of time talking about. But because many of you are preparing to embark on your career journey, I will be talking about business resilience tonight and touch on why it matters, why it is important, and why it's important to you. There we go. Too much on my screen. But let me first share with you guys why it matters to me. Business resilience is all about preparing a company to keep serving its customers, even if there is an event that disrupts the normal way that they do business. I've been doing business resilience as a career for a number of years. I didn't start out my career as a resilience program manager by any stretch of the measure. In fact, I had started out as in IT managing an infrastructure team. Because I was over critical systems, the company also made me responsible for the resilience program. This is something that you guys will all learn. For those of you who've been in careers and those of you embarking in careers, this is called being voluntold, and it happens quite a bit. And sometimes those are gems that lead you to experiences that you hadn't dreamed for yourself. And this was the case for me. Managing a business resilience program was brand new. I ran back to my office and I'm like, what does this mean? Should I really be thanking my management for putting me over this business resilience program? But once I realized it was all about being prepared, my years of Girl Scout training kicked in. I now understood what I really needed to do. And because I was over critical systems, it really kind of brought it home for me that if something happens and disrupts the way we do business, then I need to be able to make sure that we can continue doing this to business resilience. You've heard it called many different things. You've heard it called crisis management, business continuity, disaster recovery. When I talk about business resilience, this is the umbrella term that actually incorporates all of these areas. Each of these areas really do make up the ability for us to respond and recover from an event. Crisis management is all about managing the event. You see that with firefighters, you see that with policemen. You always have an incident commander that's coordinating, getting that fire be put out, make sure people remain safe. Same thing with the police. Whatever event is happening, they always have an incident commander that is making sure that everything that's happening is being coordinated, communication is going out, and the first and foremost, what they're doing is making people are safe. So with business resilience, we have crisis management. Business continuity is all about making sure that we can get the people back up and operational, their process is flowing, them doing the job, and that enables us to continue serving the customer. Disaster recovery. This is kind of an old term. Many of you have probably heard it before. It's not one of my favorite terms. So you'll hear me call it technology continuity, because that's really what most people are referring to when they say disaster recovery, is how do we get the technology back up and operational? Obviously, with today's business, we are very dependent on technology, as we're all sitting here in the virtual conference, to make sure that we can continue doing business. There's a lot of dependency, and so we have a lot of focus on making sure that we can get our technology back up and operational. So that's kind of defining some of the terms and really kind of the scope of what I'm talking about. So let's move on and really talk about why resilience matters. Why does this matter? Let me give you a few statistics to help with that. An IT disruption. So we're talking about connectivity issues, whether that's network, whether that's internet, whatever that may be. It's loss of data. Any of those technology disruptions can cost a small company around $10,000 an hour. For larger companies, it can cost over $5 million an hour. Think about that. That's a heck of a lot of money. Now, think about some of those companies that we use almost on a daily basis. Amazon, come on, admit, you guys are on Amazon nearly every day ordering. eBay, I would love for you guys to be on eBay almost every day. PayPal, TikTok. Think about if they had a technology outage, how that would be impacting their business. Now, this next statistic is going to bring it home. 54% of the businesses said that they had experienced downtime in the past 5 years that lasted over 8 hours. 8 hours at $5 million an hour. Ouch. That's a lot of zeros. I know my bank account couldn't handle that. And by the way, that statistic is going to be updated because that was the statistics that they had collected prior to the pandemic. There's been updated statistics that'll be coming out. According to FEMA, 40% of businesses do not reopen following a disaster. On top of that, another 25% fail within 1 year. At the beginning of 2021, 100,000 U.S. small businesses were forced to close permanently due to the global pandemic. So these events have real impact to businesses. It truly does knock businesses down. They have a hard time recovering, or they go out of business. Companies going out of business have a cascading impact on people, on communities, and other companies. During the peak of COVID, 94% of Fortune 1000 companies reported their supply chains were impacted. We're just talking supply chain. We're not even talking going out of business yet. They were having challenges in serving their customers. Among them were pharmaceutical companies that needed to get their therapies to patients. So now we're starting to see some real world impacts that when companies either go out of business or they're just having difficulty doing business as normal, how that impacts not only the business, but their customers. All of you have actually had a personal experience around resilience. When the colleges had to shut down this past year, they had to activate their continuity plans. The mission of the colleges did not change. How they needed to deliver on that mission did change. They still needed to educate the students, the community. The continuity planning helped them get there, but they really had to be very agile in being able to deliver that. And their continuity plans and their pandemic protocols were able to help them with that. But they hadn't been able to plan for this magnitude of an impact. Shutting down a college campus, that's happened in the past. Shutting it down for a year, that hasn't happened. But pandemic protocols and planning were in place and did help the colleges get classes back up and operational. There were a few hiccups, but they got there, and that was because of the planning. So all of you got to experience that. Other companies also had impacts. So think about Zoom. Since we're sitting on Zoom today, think about Zoom. Zoom had some of the same challenges. We still have a business to run. Everybody has to work from home. How are we going to do that? So they had an actually fairly easy solution for their company. But the other challenge they had was that there was rapid growth in Zoom. Zoom just exploded. It's already a very popular tool. but it just exploded. And that growth, being able to be agile enough to respond to that instant demand, did actually put them into continuity planning. How do we continue doing business when there's so much business to do? That's kind of a unique challenge to have. And they did have a few hiccups, but because of their planning, they were able to get things back up and operational. So those are some of the things that we have seen that have truly impacted us. All of us are very aware, especially here in California, of the wildfires, earthquakes. That's actually a picture from my hometown that had an earthquake over a year ago. Civil unrest, that also impacts our capability, where that can not necessarily directly impact the business, but that impacts the business from being able to do business. Many businesses had to shut down during some of the protests because of the protests got a little out of hand. So all of these things interrupt business, and being able to plan on what we're going to do when these things hit so we can keep business up and operational is what we do. So let me talk a little bit about what this magical business continuity resilience, what that is made up of. When I'm talking about that, what does that mean? We have basically 3 phases of planning that we go through in order to help a company plan for these type of events, and focus on how to get the people in the business process they perform back up and operational. So the first phase we go through is an analysis phase. And if any of you have gone through this or have read about it, you may have heard it called business impact analysis. And this is a great phase because this is where we really kind of get into the meat of things, where we start talking about to the business departments, what do you do? And if you can't do that, then how does that impact the business as a whole? And how soon do we need to get it back up and operational if it does get impacted, so we don't impact the business? And these are really great conversation. You get to know the business a little bit more, but now you're starting to really understand, what do we do and how do we get things back up and running? How soon do we need to do that? All of that information rolls into the planning phase, where we really start doing okay, what if this happens? We know our priorities. We know how we're going to impact things. We know what you're doing. And by the way, when I talk about process, I'm not talking about I come in, sit down, and read my email. I'm talking about accounts payable, accounts receivable. Most importantly, one of the first things I start with is payroll, because I'm very focused on making sure, let's make sure that payroll can stay up and operational, because I would like to get paid. So we sit down with them and say, what are you going to do? And we talk about, if you have people that are not able to come to work, some key people not able to come to work, what are we going to do? If we can't come into our office, what are we going to do? We start doing that sort of planning. Once we have gone through and really planned through all of these different types of impacts, loss of personnel, loss of work site, loss of technology, all of those sort of things, now we come in and do an exercise. And this is really where we bring it all together. So the department has gone through, and here's what we do, and here's what we think we need to do if we have these type of impacts. We walk them through a scenario. All right, a pandemic hits and you have to shut down the offices. How are you going to get people back up and operational? And this is really a great way for the department to walk through and talk about, does my plan hold water? Do my assumptions hold water? Are we able really to do this? So it's a great way for them to look for those areas of improvement. And on top of that, it's also training. It's starting to build what we call muscle memory. Now they're walking through it. They're going to remember, this is how I respond. This is what we do. And now we get what I call a twofer, where not only are we validating that the plan is going to work, but we're also training. So that is the type of thing we go through the company, throughout all of the departments, is what are you going to do if something happens? All right. So as fascinating as this is, as riveted and at the edge of the seat as you guys are, you're probably wondering, as a new hire, what does this have to do with me? Great that there's some planning, and Karen, you and your team are off doing all this planning, but what does that have to do with me? And the simple answer is that we all have a role to play in ensuring our company can continue to serve its customers, whether you're a new hire or the CFO. Simply being aware of the importance of continuity and the steps you can take to support continuity is the role you play. Something as simple as being someone's backup if they're out of the office is a good first step. If that person is out due to COVID for a long period of time, someone needs to be able to step in and fill their shoes and help with the work that they do. And as a bonus, you also get to learn another area within your business. And especially as you're starting out, gaining these skill sets and these experiences are really core to your development. So why would you also do this? Why would you really be willing to support continuity? I don't know about you, but I know I want my company to thrive. When they do better, I benefit. I have a passion around my company's mission, and I want to see them be successful. Your reasons can be just as simple as I want to continue receiving a paycheck. That's very valid. I want to continue receiving a paycheck, so I'm going to make sure that this company can continue even if under disruptive events. Or it could be even as simple as I hate job hunting. That's kind of a personal thing. I don't like job hunting. But you join the company for a reason, and you want to see them continue. And this is reason enough to be able to make sure that you're playing your role in ensuring the company can succeed. But there's also another benefit, opportunity. Resilience programs need someone from the business to help with the planning. I am not an expert in all the business areas, but I am able to work with all the business areas, and I need someone who's an expert in that area to help me with that planning. The opportunity comes volunteering to help with the continuity planning for your area. You get to know the business on a deeper level. You get to interact with people and levels you would not normally be exposed to. Able to show management your skill at getting things done. And most importantly, develop and also show your leadership skills. This is something that really starts to grab management's attention and helps as you look to go to your next part of your journey within your company.